20-14, Colorado wins on senior night. This CU defense gave up 30 or more points in 15 straight games, and in the last 2 games, they've given up less than 30 combined.
Yeah, it's been a remarkable transformation for this defense. And, that Stanford offense a couple weeks ago, obviously, clearly not a good offense, but still, this hasn't been a good CU defense. And for them to really, rise up, 13 points given up last week or 2 weeks ago against Stanford, 14 tonight, and to hold Washington to 38 yards rushing, this is a team that, has rushes for 200 yards against CU literally every year. They've done it for the last 9 times, dating back to 1999. So to hold them to 38 yards, that was one of the best defensive efforts. That might be, it's the first time I've really thought about this, but that might be the best defensive game I've seen for Colorado since 2016.
Yeah, and going back to that history with Washington, every game they've played them since joining the Pac-12, including the 2016 Pac-12 championship game, none of those games were close in the end.
Right.
And I know this is not the same Washington team we've seen the previous 3 years under Chris Peterson, but for them to dominate the line of scrimmage, defensively without Mustafa Johnson, offensively, Alex Fontenot had a great night, but he had some big holes to run through.
Yeah, and so did Steven Montez. So, there were times that Steven did too, but I was stunned that they dominated the trenches like that. I thought that was a key to this game, but I thought that it was a key because Washington was going to win that battle, because they just have every year, and Washington wins that battle with just about everybody. And so I was surprised, and I think that, for CU fans, they've got to take a lot of heart in that performance tonight, because that's what Mel Tucker wants. There's a lot of guys that were in the trenches tonight that are back next year and back for a couple of years.
Alex Kinney with probably the best punt I've seen covering CU on senior night. You could say it was a lucky bounce, but he created that luck by putting it where he did. And Laviska Shenault, that catch has got to be top 5-10 plays that I've seen since covering this team.
Yeah, that was fantastic. I'm not sure which is better, Alex Kinney's punch or that catch. They're both pretty good. But yeah,
one was worth 7 points, so probably that one.
Just kidding. But that punt was awesome. That roll that Kinney had was pretty amazing. But yeah, the catch by Shenault, and then he gets up with the hay. That's we both think that. I think we both believe that this is Laviska's last game here at Folsom Field, and for that to be the last touchdown that he catches here, that's pretty impressive.
And I don't know if you caught it after they got the game-clinching first down. Laviska Shenault goes over the student section, starts pumping up the crowd. You could tell he was taking that moment in. So he didn't get celebrated here on senior night, but I think we all know what's happening here with his future.
Yeah, he got celebrated after that touchdown, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But just a fantastic player. He's been so much fun to watch, and has a chance to go into next week, and if he gets 100 yards and get over 2,000 yards, I know he's probably not a big stat guy, but he's just been so much fun to watch. And for him, because he's been through so much with the injuries and everything, I'm happy for him that he was able to have a really good performance out here in what we think is his last game at Folsom.
Yeah, Steven Montez on that touchdown to Laviska breaks the school's all-time passing touchdowns mark. I think it's, 77 yards he needs next week to break the passing yards record?
Yeah, 77 yards to break Stefo's passing record, gets the 61st touchdown pass tonight, and really, the last 2 games, Steven has been criticized for a lot of things in his career. One of the things being, he's not a winner. The last 2 games, he's made a lot of winning plays, and he engineered that 6-minute drive to win the game against Stanford 2 weeks ago. I keep saying last week. And then a drive that was 5 minutes, 9 seconds to not give the ball back to Washington and milk the clock there. He made a lot of winning plays tonight. And, you and I have covered Steven his whole career. I think I can speak for you that I really like Steven. He's been easy to work with, good to work with, and I'm proud of him that he was able to play like this his last 2 games at Folsom and really go out with wins and playing well in those wins.
Going back to the defense, just early on they were playing great, and you kind of, if you're a CU fan, you had to have an uneasy feeling. They're only up 6-0 when they probably should have been up by a couple scores at that point. And Laviska Shenault has that great catch, but still, you felt like when Washington was starting to come back in the second half that maybe those failed opportunities by the offense in the first half might come back to bite them. And then another time where you start to feel uneasy if you're a CU fan is when Washington converts on 2 fourth downs and scores a touchdown. This group, very resilient tonight.
Yeah, 2 long drives by Washington coming out of the second half, or coming out of halftime. And at that point you had to look and say, okay, Washington's made some adjustments here, and the Colorado defense could be on its heels. The other one was when Aaron Foley gets the 52-yard punt return to put the Washington offense in business again. You thought, oh boy, here we go. But the defense really rose up after those 2 drives and did a great job. But those fourth downs looked like they were going to be killers for sure.
Yeah. This defense was getting a lot of criticism. We knew going into the season this was not going to be a very good defense. Yeah. And I didn't really expect them to get to the point they've been the last 2 games at any point in this season. I thought maybe that was going to be something we would see in 2020. Right. We heard Mikel Onu say a couple weeks ago that he doesn't know if Tyson Summers goes home because he's logging really long hours. Those long hours are paying off, and guys like Mark Perry are really coming into their own. They're going to lose Davion Taylor, who's been making a lot of plays, but you really return. And Onu, of course, he's been a huge part of this team.
Right.
But they have so many guys coming back, and as Mel Tucker said, these guys aren't playing like freshmen anymore.
Yeah, they're not. You lose Delrick Abrams as well, who's played pretty well most of the year. But yeah, you get most of these guys back, and you and I were kind of laughing middle of the season when there was fans that were saying they need to fire Tyson Summers. It's like, come on, people, look at what he's dealing with here. Give him a chance here, and now. I can't imagine anybody saying, let's fire Tyson Summers, because I've loved his game plans the last few games, and not just the last 2. I thought against USC he had a good game plan. I think he's dialed up some really good game plans lately. I like what he's done with the personnel they have, and you have to be excited about what these guys have on defense. When you look at Mark Perry and KJ Trujillo and Tariq Luckett has had success, and you got Nate Landman coming back, all this offensive linemen coming back. Akeel Jones, I think, has really surprised you and I.
Yeah.
I remember sitting with you in that open scrimmage in the fall, and we're watching Akeel Jones, walk off with another injury, and we kind of looked at each other like, is Akeel Jones ever going to play here? And we both said no. And he's been really good in a lot of games, and he made a couple phenomenal plays tonight. And he's coming back. So they've got a lot of guys coming back, and I think defensively this team might be. I'm not going to say they're going to be the Pac-12's best defense, but I think they can really make a lot of improvement next year.
And Nate Landman, he's been racking up tackles all season, but he is making really big impact plays now, and I think there was so much thrown on him. He was having to babysit guys at the beginning of this year, and now guys kind of know the responsibility, and he can go out and play and not try to do everybody's job for them, and you've really seen that here, I think, about the last 3-4 weeks.
Yeah, you really have. And, I thought early in the season he really struggled in pass coverage. And tonight he was fantastic. I mean, not only the interception, but he had that batted down pass. He had a couple pass breakups. He's really improved his game there, but he's been a lot of fun to watch. I mean, the first I remember asking him after 4 or 5 games, Nate, you got a ton of tackles, but we're not seeing the impact plays. And, he said, well, that's kind of what our defense is calling for that right now. And ever since then, he's made a ton of impact plays. So, I don't know if it probably wasn't my question, but that prompted that. But, really the second half of the season, he's made a lot of impact plays, some sacks, tackles for loss, the interception. He's so much fun to watch when he's playing well.
Tim Lynott Jr., the 2019 Buffalo Heart Award winner. We were talking the other day about who could potentially be a guy that could win that. That's a name you mentioned. He had the ruptured Achilles. Yeah. He was a starter on that 2016 team. He even told me roller coaster is the word that he uses to describe his career. So I think, you could have given it to a few guys, even Laviska Shenault possibly, but definitely deserving of it.
Yeah, Stephen Montez was certainly a candidate. There's so many guys that could have been candidates for that, but Tim Lynott very deserving for what he's persevered through. Not only the Achilles, but kind of going back and forth positions that one year, which was tough for him. Mm-hmm. And we've seen him be almost exclusively a right guard his whole career. He comes in this year, plays center, and he's been I don't want to say flawless, but his snaps have been almost flawless, and he's played really good this year. So it's nice to see him. Another one of those guys. There's so many good guys on this team to cover, and he's another one of those. So it's nice to see him win that award.
Arizona State screws some things up for the Pac-12 by beating Oregon. Yeah. Utah is the conference's last hope, and even if they win out, there's no guarantee. Yeah. They have everything in the world to play for. Now CU has not I mean, quite to that level. But for them to get to a bowl game for the second time in a long time, a lot to play for. No one's going to give them a chance to win. I mean, we'll get into our predictions later. I can't imagine either of us are going to predict them to win that game. But there's a storyline this week, and there's at least something to play for going out to Salt Lake City.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what you want. I mean, I think that had the Buffs lost this game and there was nothing to play for next week, I could see, and not to call anybody out because I couldn't even name names, but I could see this team and maybe some guys on this team maybe checking out a little bit with a game that doesn't mean anything against the number 7 team in the country. The other thing is Utah does have everything to play for, and do they come in super tight next week? The Pac-12 is now depending on only Utah. It's been Oregon and Utah, and you see Oregon with everything to play for tonight, it goes down to an ASU team that's struggling and doesn't play well, and they scramble back and almost won, but ASU wins that game. Does CU catch a Utah team that maybe is a little tight because of everything they have to play for? And if the Buffs play as physical as they did tonight, I give them a shot.
A shot.
I'm
Utah
not
team is pretty good.
win, but I'm just saying, for Colorado to have a shot, they better play this physical.
Well, it would be the most Pac-12 thing ever for CU to go out there and win.
It would be the most Utah thing ever, too. I mean, we remember Utah, I think it was the first year of the Pac-12. Was that the first year when Utah could have, all they had to do was beat that bad CU team in the finale and go to the South title or the title game, and they lost? So that'd be kind of a Utah thing, too.
All right, we'll get more into that Utah game as we get closer. Signing off from Folsom Field.